The world at the moment, as we are all experiencing, is going through this massive transformation. There's a lot of things happening at the moment, and there's a lot of anger. And there's a lot of anger amongst people on the ground, between each other. And so I thought about this for a second, okay? And this is my opinion here. This is how I see the state of the world at the moment. And you have 1% of the world controls the 99% of the world. Let me repeat that. 1% of the world controls 99% of the world. And you might say to me, well, how's that, Ross? Come on. The 1% of the world, when you look at the people that are controlling the wealth, the people that are controlling the power, the people that are controlling the politicians and the media, 100% of them are deep learners. The people right now that are controlling and in control of AI, they're 100% deep learners. And they're into that 1% group. Okay? And that 1% controls 99% of the population. Now this is where the data now gets a little bit more interesting. 9% of this population are deep learners. And 90% is what I call surface learners. And that's about right. About 10% of the population have come out of an education system as deep learners. 1% control the world. 9% are deep learners. They know what's going on. The 90% of surface learners, and surface learning education is what most people came out of, is the system where someone gives you information, asks you to memorize it, grades you on it, and then asks you to follow a process. So here's the information, here's your grade, so I'm labeling you as an A, B, C, D student, and then here's your fixed mindset, because most people came out of an education system with a fixed negative mindset. What does that mean? So they came out of an education system thinking, well, you know what, this is my academic smartness, this is my capacity, and these are the options, these are the job options that I have in my life. And generally most people followed that process to the day they die. That's why for most people, for 90% of the population, in terms of thoughts, not much changes to the day you die. In fact, 95% of the thoughts that most people have are going to be exactly the same from the time they leave school to the time they die. That's just data, they're just facts. This is where it gets interesting. Okay? So you have 1% that controls the 99%. 90% of the population really don't know what the 1% are doing. They're oblivious. Okay? They're surface learning. Okay? You're going to say, well, how's that, Ross? I don't understand. Okay, let me listen to this, the way this system works. Because when you come out of a system with a fixed negative mindset, which is literally 100% of all surface learners, 100% of all surface learners. So if you're a surface learner, you've come out of an education system as a fixed negative mindset. What does that mean? There's a reason why media is always negative. There's a reason why you look at any media story. Doesn't matter what politics you're on, doesn't matter what you believe in, doesn't matter what values you have. You look at a media story, okay? It's always someone's a victim, someone gets angry, there's hatred, there's envy, there's jealousy. That's done on purpose because most people have a fixed negative mindset. And so that amplifies it. It's throwing petrol to the fire. And what does that do? Do you think that makes your brain smarter? Do you think it makes you more intelligent? No, it regresses your brain. When you get into that anger, victimhood, jealousy, envy, when you get into that mindset, Your neurons are closing down, and then they're angry, and what are they looking for? Usually people like that, they gossip, they complain, they bully, they criticize, they tease other people, and they do that not because they're nasty, it's because they're hurting inside them. They're really, really annoyed with themselves, so they need to release dopamine. But that's not enough. And this is what addictions kick in. Sugar, social media, junk food, drugs, alcohol, pornography. The top 6 addictions kick in, which all those addictions cause brain regression, brain decline. Now they're facts. You can't argue with the facts here. Here's the thing. Those addictions create billions and billions of dollars for industries worldwide. We know that. That's a fact. We also know when 90% of the population doesn't know, they're surface learners, they're easier to control. The 1% can control 99%. The 1% control the 99%. Even the 9% that are deep learners, the 1% control them as well. And I'll explain to you how they control them. Okay? And so this is really important that you understand this. Okay? This is really important, especially where humanity is going now. Okay? Most people down here, all right, there's a lot of anger now. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of victimhood, there's a lot of jealousy on all sides. In many ways, there's a war on the ground. I'm seeing friends that I grew up with almost killing each other over politics. And when I look at it, they're in exactly the same economic position. They've got the same values. I know them both. And this is happening right across the country. People don't even know why they're even fighting. There's people that like the government, there's people that hate the government, there's people that like this, that don't like this, people think this, that. And why? Because they're getting fed information. They're getting fed information because they're surface learners. And you're getting fed information, and then you're amplifying that information. Here's the information, and then follow the process. Here's the information, and follow the process. What do you think social media does? Think about what social media does, right? They've got AI, and the AI works out what kind of stories you like, works out what kind of political persuasion you are, works out how you feel about the world. And because the goal of social media is to keep you on social media. And by keeping you on social media, they can sell you more products. That's the game. Okay? They're getting more data on you. And the more you're on social media, the more depression, anxiety, stress, all those things kick in. They're regressing your brain. So if you are of a political persuasion, if you are of a political belief, left or right, if you're on the left, you're going to get more left stories that you're a victim. If you're on the right, you're going to get more right stories that you're the victim. And the reason why you're a victim is because of them. And the reason why you're a victim is because of them. So you're going to get stories. I've seen people on the left side and the right side, seriously, people about to kill each other. Mates on the left and the right, and they're in exactly the same economic position. All right, they're going through the same problems. They've got the same things, issues, but they're getting information that's making them look like the victim. They're getting information that's making them look like the victim, and so they're at war with each other. They're at war with each other. And think about it, when they're at war with each other, these guys are making trillions, not billions, trillions. Why is that? Because they're able then to sell their agendas, they're able to sell their products, they're able to sell whatever they're selling. Because you're killing each other. It's if I was them, if I was in the 1%, I would want this too. I would want this conflict. The guys in the top 1%, there's not really that much. There is an element of differences in debate, but by and large, they want to maintain power. That's natural, that's deep learning. They believe we're doing great. Don't believe, I hear these stories that the people in the top 1%, they're evil and they're bad and they're this. I don't believe that. I think there's a small proportion of that. I think most of them have views of the world that the 90% don't understand. And there's a reason for that. And so when things happen in the world, when you see things change in the world that affect the majority, okay, it's really coming from here. And there's things happening. So when people hear a fighting and arguing, what happens is that you can't see the play. No one can. And these top 1%, they're not the politicians and the media, because the media are part of this as well. Most politicians are not deep learners. Very small portion of politicians are deep learners, because the system, through the education system, this stems from the education system, by the way. The whole education system created a policy that would overwhelmingly create surface learners. And so the whole system created politicians that were surface learners. And the system created media people that were surface learners. And it created journalists that were surface learners. Very small portion of politicians or media are deep learners. Because those that are deep learners, they know the game. They know what these guys are doing. They see what these guys are doing. It's an argument going around now about Tucker Carlson doing this Putin video and showing it around the world. And whilst I'm not going to jump into any political persuasion, I'm a deep learning teacher, I don't care. There's an argument breaking out now that should we be seeing an interview of Putin? Should we be interviewing Putin? Should the people see the interview of the other side? And I don't know why that's an argument. I'm not sure why the media would argue about that. Even amongst the media, they're arguing that. I'm saying that the 1% here are very strategic in what information they give to the 99%. So the 1% are very strategic in what they give to the 99%. Now, maybe they want to give that interview, maybe they want people to see that interview, and they're saying to us, well, we don't want you to see this interview so more people can see it. Maybe that's a strategy. Maybe they don't want people to see the interview. Okay, most people don't know what the game is. But the reality is this. The reason why politicians and media and all people don't always give you the full truth. They hide the truth. They don't think you can handle the truth. They don't think the 90% can handle the full truths. And there's a reason they do that. It's been strategically done. Like the media's job for me is simple. Supply all the data to the people and then let the people decide. Every single person in the media, every single human being, every celebrity in the world has an opinion on the data. And your opinion is just as important as anybody else's. But what the media does is, no. They say this is the view, and I'm going both sides here now. I'm hiding this information. I'm giving you just this information because I want a certain narrative. And they both do it. So both sides of media give certain data, hide the rest of the data, so then you can have specific data to fit the narrative of the argument, and both versions. And they're getting away with it. And people are making billions and billions and billions, and there's a war here on the ground. I mean, you look at around the world right now, people are wanting to kill each other. Like I said, best friends, families wanting to kill each other. Well, it shouldn't be that way. It's always been about having these differences, being different from each other. I don't know anyone that's like me, and I don't know anyone that thinks like me. That's the point of being a deep learner. Every single person's different. Everyone has their own beliefs. There's a reason why people have beliefs. There's a reason why they have an opinion. My opinion is my opinion. Your opinion is your opinion. Somehow you got there, somehow I got there. You can't argue the data, but the data's the data. The data's the mathematics. And when people in the media, when politicians in the media, and they've been doing this for years, start hiding data, start manipulating data, not telling you the truth, then you will get a manipulation of people at the top doing whatever they want. Here's what the 9% of deep learners, the 9% of deep learners that know what's going on here, right? What happens? What do you think happens there? The 1% buy them. When I say buy them, I'm not talking about corruption here. They offer them jobs, they offer them positions, they offer them status, they offer them this, they offer them that. They bring them into AI, into businesses, and these people generally become communicators to the 90%. 9%, they know the game. They're really intelligent people here, really skillful people that are getting well paid. And again, there's in the 1%, they're not all got the same thought. There is a split in that 1%. When I say a split, people have different ideas and different views about where the future of the planet should be going. And a lot of people, they then use these deep learners here to manipulate the 90. Within that 9%, they're not the politicians. Within that, so the 9% here then deal with politicians and deal with media. And the media then, and the politicians then communicate with the 90%. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. And this is where I think the system breaks down. We need more deep learners. We need more of these 90% to grow. The reason why the 1% pays the 9%. They pay them. There's a reason why they do that, because they know, hey, we want these guys on our side. The 1% don't care about the 90%. They're just finding ways to make more money. The 1% just want to make more money, want to get more power. The 9% are happy. The 1% are happy, and everyone down here can just fight and argue and be depressed and eat junk food and eat sugar and not go on social media and feel like a victim. What I'm saying, what I'm pushing for, especially now in this era, in the era of AI, if you are happy and trust the 1%, fine. The education system created this system, okay? This was intentional, and it's not a conspiracy theory. If you go back 100 years and look at what Rockefeller was saying openly and publicly, he goes, how can you manage a world full of deep thinkers and deep learners? How can you manage a world full of critical thinkers? Majority of us here, 90%, need to get here. And if this, imagine the 9%, imagine this becomes 10% and 20% and 30% and 40% and 50%. Imagine you get a population up here that's 90% deep learners. These guys here are going to get so scared. They're going to be frightened because we know what they're doing. We know the game. We know everything they're doing. And there's more of us. And so it's a lot easier for the 1% to divide and conquer and to use the 9% to do it for them. And when you've got a 1% where only 9% know exactly the game that they're playing and they know the whole game, the rest of it don't know the game. The rest of it are going by their daily lives and they don't realise that they're way far away from the potential. They don't realise why they've got anxiety. They don't realise why they've got depression. They don't realise why they're feeling like a victim. They don't realise why they're bullying and angry and teasing somebody else. They don't realise why they're spending half their day on social media and not spending time with their kids or their family or their close ones in that interaction. And that's done purposefully. And think about it. People are making billions and billions and billions and trillions of dollars out of the 90%. Okay? someone's making a lot of money, and it all stems from an education system that was flawed, intentionally flawed to deliver a type of education system that created a fixed negative mindset. The strategy for me is simple. Increase that percentage, get more deep learners in the world, because the more deep learners in the world, especially in this era, especially what I call the AI era, because we're living in the AI era right now, and the moves that these people make in AI, remember they're deep learners, so what they're doing is very deliberate. The moves they're making in AI right now is going to affect the 90%. And when you're thinking about this, you're thinking about getting into an argument and debate with your neighbour and your friend and all these stuff. Remember, you're all in the same team. Everyone here is on the same team, okay? Every single one. And the deep learners right now, the majority of deep learners that are not in the 1% are being paid by the 1%. So it's easy for them to, hey, you know what, it is what it is, guys, this and that. Trust me, they read the whole game. Let's get a majority of humans, let's get the kids at least as deep learners. Every single kid should be a critical thinker. Every single kid should be questioning everything. Why, how. Everything needs to be questioned. I go through the 5 whys. Why? Tell me why. Every kid needs to go through that process and become critical thinking. We need a population full of deep learners, because in my belief, especially where humanity is going, and especially with the rise of AI, in my belief, it's healthier, it's better for humanity to have a majority of humans become deep learners.